Yo, what is up? It's Isaac of the Dead back with another video. Let's talk about the newest episode of Daryl Dixon, or rather the Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol. That title is so long, it's unnecessary. Good news. This episode 2 that is, of season 2, is better. It's an improvement on the first episode. The first episode to me was boring. It was redundant. It kind of trailed backwards, right? We were leaning more on member berries and slowly a glacier pace in developing the characters. This episode felt like it was more plot driven and had more thematic ties to it, which I'll break into here in a little bit. So spoilers in this video if you haven't seen it and you want to see it. But this episode was definitely an improvement. No, I'm not being paid by AMC. No, I am not shilling for this show. I just calls them how I sees them. This episode was better. Does it improve my foresight for the future of this show? Not really. Not really. I don't think it's going to get much better than this. The damage has been done. Like the Walking Dead damage is it's already done. There's not much more you can do. You can just see the positives where they are here, right? So let's start with Carol's story. So Carol and Ash, so I remember the guy's name, his name is Ash. Ash has the plane. Carol jumps on the plane with Ash, and they fly over, so they don't have enough fuel to get to France. So they fly over to Greenland first, right? They land in Greenland, and they see, they land in a field of walkers. I love the, one thing I like about when they landed in Greenland, and one thing I like about the show is what their budget is spent on, which is filming on location. For the most part, right? Like the Greenland looks great. They went on location for Greenland and it looks fantastic. But in France, you can tell that shit's a green screen. You can tell they didn't go all the way to Paris to do a set for Paris. That was a green screen and it looked like shit. I could tell it looked like shit. Carol is in Greenland. She gets attacked in a field by a bunch of walkers who are faster, stronger, and she can't handle them. So she needs help. And she ends up getting help from two whammons. Now, at first, I was like, oh, God, are the only survivors in this world women now? Like, are we out of men? Did men just run out of supply here? Because it seems like that's been sort of the case for the past couple years of The Walking Dead. Is that all the men are dead and only women survive. Fucking Oceanside was like nothing but women because Negan killed all the men. Like, I was just like, damn, are the women's the only ones that survive? So I believe the names are Hannah and Eun, if I remember that correctly. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments below. Hannah and Eun, and I assume they're lesbians. It's not confirmed. I just assume, based off of the fact that they are two, it's a couple, right? It's a pair of women that are isolated in fucking Greenland. There's no way that they weren't lesbians. So they explain the mythology about why they call the dead Thurup or something. I don't remember the name of what they call them, but it's based off of a folklore of resurrecting the dead, basically, to take on the revenge, or take on revenge against somebody. And if they fail to get revenge, they go after the person that summoned them, which is kind of interesting. It's an interesting theme because that ties into, and this is kind of one of the things I really like about this part of the story is the themes of what the walkers represent, more than just death, right? It's karma. It's a payback by nature, right? Something that we see very little of in zombie media, or at least in mainstream zombie media, right? Like, I mean, I guess you could say that World War Z did it as well, but World War Z was more blockbustery and was kind of focused on spectacle rather than themes. And I'm not saying that the movie was bad. I actually really like World War Z. It doesn't do the book a lot of justice, though. It's more like a prequel to the book. I'm trailing off here. It's basically what I liked about The Walking Dead is these kind of themes, right? Now, it could have fallen off a cliff with two lesbians preaching about climate change in The Walking Dead. It could have easily fallen off a cliff, but it actually works here. And I kind of like how it works because Carol and Ash go back to Eon and Hannah's hut, right? That's like close to a little river in the middle of a canyon. Eon and Ash are going to refuel the plane. And she starts asking him a bunch of questions about whether he has kids, why they're flying to France, yada, yada, yada. And Hannah is super sketchy. Super sketchy. Yeah. I don't know how Carol didn't see the red flags sooner, but she's super sketchy. Because she's like, hey, can I play with your crossbow? And normal motherfuckers would be like, no, don't touch my weapons. So she picks up the crossbow, she points it at Carol, and she's like, I'm supposed to kill you. And it's like, well, don't. Please don't kill me. That's what Carol does. The acting of it is a little... I can't praise the acting in this scene. It's weird. I know that Hannah's actor is supposed to be creepy and disturbed, and she does it well. But Carol just seems unimpressed. Melissa McBride just seems unimpressed. That could be me misinterpreting it, but I don't know. But I like the theme that it explains. It's like, so Hannah and Ian are in Greenland, and they were documenting glacier change, right? Climate change, basically, right? And then the world fell apart, and they were stuck there for, 15 years? However long it's been since the apocalypse started, right? So their plan with Carol and Ash, Hannah is supposed to kill Carol, and Ian is supposed to breed with Ash to repopulate the Earth. That is their plan. These are crazy, psycho Mad Max people. So I actually liked this part of the show. I was like, oh shit, this seems pretty cool. And, they're... I think it was explained by Carol. She was like, we don't deserve the apocalypse. That's horrible. And Hannah's logic was, don't we? We kill each other all the time. We have wars. We pollute the earth. This is just nature taking revenge. The walkers is just nature getting its revenge. And so I actually really like that thematic tie of like the, zombie virus, regardless of whatever, medium it's in, right? Comic books, TV shows, movies of all genres, or all franchises, basically. That theme of humanity being so terrible that the zombie virus is a manifestation of karma, coming back, right? Kind of like the Great Flood or another natural disaster that's supposed to wipe out the hubris and the evil, right? And so that's something that The Walking Dead has been sorely missing for fucking years. So it was good to get a little hint of that. I can't say it was greatly executed, but at the very least it was satisfying to me, and that was one of the great things I liked about this show, right? Is that there was something of substance for once. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to save the show in the future, but it's at least worth pointing out and saying, wow, that's freaking cool to talk about, right? That starts a discussion about how the zombie franchises are looked at now as not just dumb meathead survival apocalypses. And to be fair, that's the kind of shit I like too. I like the survival apocalypse shit. I like the first couple seasons of The Walking Dead where it was just survival, right? That's one of the things that built the franchise. So, yeah, it was good to have some substance. So, we end up where Ian can't breed with Ash, so he traps him. And then she goes back to Hannah. Hannah ends up killing her because their relationship was pretty toxic and abusive. And then Carol's like, I'll bring you back to France with us, as if they have room in the plane to, fit a third person. But as they're walking back to the plane, Hannah and Carol are in the mist, and Ash shoots a flare at Hannah, and she dies instantly because the flare goes right into her neck, and she just goes, and just, she done. So that saves room on the plane. And so, I don't blame Ash for pulling Chekhov's gun, because we introduced the flare gun early on, and then good setup payoff too. I'm complimenting a lot here in this episode. Who would have known, right? So they fly to France. Carol tells Ash to stay back, and does a lot of mental gymnastics to try, to keep him back, because she's practically lying to him about finding her daughter and her husband. She's looking for Daryl, So I'm interested to see how that lie plays out, and chances are Ash is not going to make it. Ash is going to die. My best prediction, right? Not a spoiler, just a prediction. And then Carol goes off into a green screen that looks like France, looking for Daryl. I think she gets captured by She gets captured by Genet, the villain team, the villain group, and she's recruited by them. And we see also at the very end of the episode that you remember Tattoo Face Negan, that guy. Apparently he did something wrong. I can't remember what he did. If he did it in the last season. Oh, it might have been just letting Daryl go. But he gets tortured all to hell by Madame Genet, I believe is whatever her name is. I can't remember. But he gets tortured, and it's pretty brutal to watch. So we're going to see how that plays out, because it was just hinted at that was going to have a factor later on. Now let's move on to Daryl's story, right? And Daryl's story also I thought was going to be formulaic and boring, because most of it is, he's training Laurent. I like the father figure-ness. He's playing ball with Laurent. Like, I'm digging now that we're seeing in TV shows, we can have proper father figures that people can look up to. Daryl being a proper father figure to Laurent. That's one thing that I really like about this show, is Daryl having purpose and being a father figure, right? That's something that's actually kind of a joy to see. And so Laurent goes missing, right? And is believed to have been stolen by the guy with the tattoo on his face, right? Tattoo Negan. So Daryl and a task force from, I believe they're called the Nest. They're called the Nest. A task force from the Nest go out with Falou, the leader of the rebellion guy in France and Paris, and I forgot her name already. I want to say Annabelle. The girl that's Laurent's aunt, basically, right? The main one. Isabella. I believe Isabella is the name. So they go off to trail, where Laurent was stolen, right? And so they were basically they were going off to trail where Laurent was stolen to get Laurent back, right? Meanwhile, at the Nest, we see Laurent's teacher is kind of strict, and she wants the Asian guy who is running the Nest to he's like super heavily religious and believes Laurent is the next zombie Jesus, basically. She wants him to up the ceremony. The ceremony is they're going to test that Laurent is actually immune to the virus by making him get bit by a walker and survive. That's the test, right? Super dangerous, super risky, not worth it. Especially in the Walking Dead world, right? And so they want to... They're almost cultish in a way. They're almost weird, like a cult. And so they want to test Laurent to see if he is the future, savior, basically, of the zombie world. And so the teacher of Laurent is kind of strict about it and trying to... I believe her name is Jacinto. Jacinto and the Asian guy are like, we need to up the ceremony. And so... essentially, I can't remember who hides Laurent, but we find out by a nameless side character that I don't care about, and her brother. She has it's either her brother or her boyfriend. I can't remember, but she this nameless side character discovers that Laurent wasn't kidnapped at all. He was just moved to another part of the Nest castle. So the whole thing with Daryl and the team going out was a trap. It was a setup. So all the people from the Nest turn on Daryl and try to kill him. Because they know that Daryl would make Laurent and Isabella want to leave France. And then they lose their savior. So that was like, oh, shit. We have plot movement now. We're doing things. The plot is moving, right? Like, this is so much better than, stagnant... walking and talking about feelings and shit that we've been so used to with The Walking Dead. It's like, holy shit, a fraction, a little freckle of plot movement is getting some intrigue now. And so Daryl, naturally wipes out everybody. Naturally, you can't overpower Daryl when he's up against French people, I guess. And so Falou almost dies at the hands of the boyfriend of the nameless girl that found Laurent. And so he's like, I made a deal with God. We're trying to keep our savior. He explains the ceremony to Daryl. And then Isabella ends up killing him because he was outnumbered, right? And so you feel bad for the guy because he felt like he was stuck between a rock and a hard place making a deal. And after he was trapped by, the Genet people, and he was forced to watch them all do experiments, which I don't know if that was enough to traumatize you so much to kill Daryl, but whatever. So essentially, Daryl already knows that the nest is not his friend, and Isabella teaches him a word in France or in French about like having purpose after something, and then they kiss. So I'm okay with them kissing. They've been teasing a romantic interest between these two for the last season, right? Like since season 1, they've been teasing this as a romantic, relationship. It just felt like a weird time to do it. It just felt like really weird to do it right here and right now. I guess no better time than this, natural human, way to do it. But it just felt like thematically, and plot wise for this story, it just fell out of place. The kiss, right? It just felt kind of random. But Daryl and Isabella and Falou tried to infiltrate the nest to get Laurent back. I believe that's how the episode ends. So we don't see if they get Laurent back because they're about to test Laurent with the walker bite, right? So that's how that episode ends. My thoughts are, this was a step up from the last episode. It wasn't boring. It wasn't, a chore to watch. Is it slow a little bit? It's kind of slow, a little bit long, longer than it needs to be, right? Kind of, as much as I like the Greenland part of the story, because I really do like the themes of that, and I really like, seeing new characters that, it's kind of like those morality tales that kind of are ambiguous and makes you think, right? It just took up time, right? It took up maybe 20 minutes of time that it didn't necessarily need to take up, but I didn't hate it, right? And I didn't hate the plot movement with the nest turning out to be, not so great and it being obvious. Turns out the Asian guy as well, who's running this like nest cult, whatever it is not proud of Jacinto, and it shows that he's not just some evil mustache twirling cult leader. He has doubts. That was the whole theme about this episode, was doubt. And by all means, you hit me because I was doubting this show before this episode. So if they have potential to keep this going, then perhaps this show could be redeemable. So we're just going to have to wait and see how it goes. But step up for a next episode. So what y'all think? If y'all watch the show, did you like it? Are you indifferent towards it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comment section below. This has been Isaac of the Dead, covering all your dead walker zombie shit. Because, why not? My whole shtick is dead. Isaac of the Dead. So I'll see y'all in the next video. Don't smoke crack. And I will see y'all next time.